Today I'm bringing you my first build of Edge of Fate. It is Prismatic Lightning Surge. If you've been looking at Titans with Consecration and being like, man, that's cool, look no further because this is just as good, if not better, thanks to the stat changes. You can see here I have Transcendence. I'm not going to even use it for this first part, and we are just rolling through crowds. This is Legend Campaign mission, so this is whatever Legend is, power level Delta, but just demolishing enemies. This carried me through the Legend Campaign, and it was extremely easy because of it. See, we're just freezing enemies, lightning them, and don't forget too that with Spirit of Syntheseps, it's not just Lightning Surge. Your normal melees are strong too, so take advantage of that. On top of that, I'm using Spirit of Inmost Light, but you don't even really have to thanks to Transcendence, and that just keeps our spam up. Finally activated Transcendence, and now we just have to take out these last few enemies, and then we're going to take out the boss without even using our super. If that sounds good to you, let's get into it. I'm Engineer. Just for an overview of the build, it's an extremely simple build. All you're going to do is zip and slide and obliterate enemies. Use is general ad clear and some boss encounters. Flying bosses, which there are unfortunately a lot of in the Edge of Fate campaign, are kind of a pain. But there are ways to work with that, and the ad density is intense in Edge of Fate, so having something like this is very helpful. I don't know how power levels work yet. It seems to have all changed, but this carried me through the Legendary campaign. I will be trying out on Mythic here soon, but I wanted to get the build out there so other people could have something to do. Pros, it's super easy. Great AoE damage, good survivability. But on the con side, it does rely on Transcendence generation, which can be kind of annoying at times. When the ability loop breaks, it breaks hard. If you're completely out of abilities and don't have any way to generate them, oof, it's a little unpleasant. But that doesn't happen too much, and it's mostly just like if you change your loadout or something. It also doesn't have a lot for weapon damage, but I think that's okay. Once again, this is an ability spam build, and there's lots of great weapons and ways to do damage with them. First up, our exotic is the exotic class item Solipsism with Spirit of Syntheseps. Anything with Spirit of Syntheseps will do the damage, but if you want to have a little bit more quality of life, Spirit of Inmost Light will give you more spam when you aren't in Transcendence. Spirit of Necrotic though works pretty well too because it does kinetic damage, which fills both bars, and it increases your AoE. I was actually using Spirit of Necrotic in the opening gameplay, and it held up very well. If you don't have the exotic class item, it does require the final shape, which is free currently for I think about one more week. You do need to do Dual Destiny to get it, or get it from a chest. It does seem to drop from chests even if you haven't done Dual Destiny. So I do recommend you do the mission Dual Destiny so you get perk focusing, and then once you have at least one copy, you can just get even more from Xur. If you aren't aware, Spirit of Syntheseps, when you are surrounded by 3 enemies within 15 meters, you get a buff that gives you 165% increased melee damage. This is additive melee damage. I will go over that a little bit later because melee damage stacking has changed with Edge of Fate. Simple exotic perk, simple build, easy to go. For aspects, we want Feed the Void. This has been updated to only give you 140 HP, but I've never noticed it. It is still plenty of HP. Feed the Void also has 2 fragment slots. Aspect 2 is Lightning Surge, which is the whole focus of the build, is a slide melee, which is good AoE, gives you bolt charge per enemy hit, and it jolts enemies. And if you get a multi-kill, you will automatically get amplified because of how amplified works. For the super, I'd take either Needle Storm or Nova Bomb. Needle Storm will give you a stronger damage resistance in Woven Mail, whereas Nova Bomb gives you Void Overshield, but Nova Bomb generally does more damage. Needle Storm will also help balance out your Darkness Transcendence gauge, so think about that as well. For the grenade, I take Cold Snap grenades because you can freeze a crowd and break them, and that'll build up Darkness Transcendence energy, but it is flexible. For the melee, you absolutely want Arcane Needle. It'll give you Unravel, and it has 3 charges, has an 80% flat gain factor, but it'll be up a lot, and in Transcendence you can spam it because of this. For the class ability, I take Phoenix Dive because it's the shortest cooldown, but this is also flexible. Moving over to Fragments, we have 5 fragment slots to work with, and these are very flexible. You can really take a lot of different things here. Facet of Protection is good damage resistance when you're surrounded, and it's synergizes really well with Spirit of Syntheseps. Facet of Purpose will give you extra damage resistance, which also will help with one of our artifact perks. Facet of Courage gives you 50% additive melee damage boost as long as the enemy is debuffed by a darkness debuff, and we have several sources of that. And then I like Facet of Awakening and Facet of Balance. because Awakening will create elemental pickups when you get multi-kills of a certain element, and because we're doing so much arc, that's going to be Ionic Traces, and Ionic Traces are amazing. Faceted Balance will also give you extra melee energy whenever you defeat enemies with light damage, which once again we are doing constantly. But if you don't find you need these as much, Facet of Dawn will give you Radiant, which is a 20% weapon damage boost for 5 seconds. Solitude will let you sever enemies by landing multiple precision hits, which is a 40% enemy damage reduction. And then lastly, you can take Facet of Bravery to get some unraveling rounds, so you don't have to waste an arcane needle to unravel enemies. This is very flexible, so definitely take whatever works for you though. Moving over to our mods and Armor 3.0 stats. First one, woo! So first up for the mods, really the focus here is your melee. So you want heavy-handed and you want 2 font of melees. Everything else is pretty flexible. Make sure you have a time dilation on the class item. Powerful Attraction and Reaper are nice. I like a Siphon mod to get a few more orbs, and then I recommend hands-on on the helmet so you generate more super energy with your melee. Do make sure that you match your Siphon and your surges to whatever weapons you are using, but overall pretty flexible. Once again, this is not a build that requires a lot. Just get that melee buff up there and then go from there. On the stats front, I recommend at least trying to get your melee as high as possible. I set a minimum of 190 here. Make sure you set a maximum of 200 because you don't want to overcap it, because that's just wasted points. And the reason you want that is when you get up to 200, you get 30% multiplicative melee damage boost, which is very helpful. Now, because you might be using Inmost Light and you just generally want to use your grenade, try and get your grenade to at least 70. You also want to get your super to at least 70, and then get whatever class ability you can. And then weapons and health really just aren't a focus here. Weapons under 100 just doesn't do that much for you, and health is already covered because we have Devour. Briefly on artifact perks, I have not even got to column 4 or 5 in my build. I'm moving pretty slowly because I've just been focusing on campaign, but a few artifact perks I want to cover. First, in column 4 is Elemental Coalescence. If you score multiple kills, you get a super matching elemental pickup, so that could be Void Breaches or Tangles, but extra pickups are nice at all times. Over in column 5 though, the most important one is Shield Crush. So when you have Frost Armor, Void Overshield, or Woven Mail, you get 25% base melee recharge rate and 25% increased powered melee damage, which is just more damage for your build. And then while you're amplified or radiant, which you will be pretty much constantly, you will also get a higher grenade recharge rate and grenade damage. Lastly, Tangled Web is a good one because when you kill Strain debuffed combatants, it triggers a suspending blast, so you throw some kind of unravel into the crowd, lightning surge in, enemies will get suspended if they survive, and that procs Facet of Courage and just keeps everything looping, and it's very good. Really straightforward artifact perks, not a lot that synergizes with this, and once again, you don't need any of these, and all the gameplay, I did not use them one bit. Now, weapons. Our main goal here is boosting our melee damage, so what I recommend is a 1-2 punch shotgun, which has a 150% additive melee damage boost, or Bastion, which is the exotic kinetic fusion rifle, which has 300% additive melee damage boost. Some other weapons to think about: I used Finality's Augur from Sundered Doctrine for a lot of the campaign because you just shoot out the turret and you let it shoot stuff, and then you can just zoom around while it does damage for you. It's also really good for Transcendence generation just because it does really steady damage over time. Another good one to think about though is Tractor Cannon for those stronger targets. This is a 30% weaken, which is very strong, and weaken effects are multiplicative, so they are very big damage boost to your melee. Area Denial grenade launchers are very good for generating Transcendence, so definitely consider those. We have Psychopomp from episode Heresy, and we have Lost Signal from episode Echoes, and those are both really good for Arc or Stasis respectively, so you can generate either type of Transcendence energy. Lastly, a Pugilist weapon can help round out some melee energy if you're struggling in between Transcendence, but I started using this and then found that I didn't really need it most of the time. It really just helps you recover if somehow your gameplay loop breaks. Briefly, on melee damage buff stacking, one change that happened with Edge of Fate is that most melee buffs now stack additively instead of multiplicatively. And generally what this means is if you have a lot of buffs, you took a slight nerf, but if you have just a few buffs, like 2 or 3, this is a very big buff, because what they did is they increased the effect of almost every melee buff in the game. You can see below, I've included it says current and new, but this is pre-Edge of Fate and post Edge of Fate. And on the left side, we got about a 235% damage boost to Lightning Surge, and now with 1-2 punch working with it, Facet of Courage getting buffed, and the melee stat going to 200 for another 30%, we get almost up to 600% additional damage, which is huge. We're doing 7 times the base damage of this ability if you stack up everything, and it shows. It just really absolutely nuke stuff. With that, let's show a little bit of gameplay. So this is the episode Echoes Exotic Mission Encore. I was just playing this to try out Pinnacle Ops. The enemies here are not extremely strong. I got confused about the power level and didn't have my highest level gear equipped when it started, so it ended up being not that hard. But you can still just kind of see how it plays with a lot of different enemies and fighting bosses. Let's see here, Tormentor spawns. We're just going to use our super though and knock him down really quickly. I'm going to throw one of those Finality's Augur turrets out just to cover stuff and get the enemies I don't want to deal with. Lightning Surge. Everything dies in a Lightning Surge. I did the entire mission, but the last fight is very not interesting because it's a lot of mechanics and the boss flies, so you can't really Lightning Surge him, which is annoying. So do still think about this build and whether it makes sense for the boss you are fighting. Let's see, Lightning Surge, huge chunk taken out of the boss. I'm not even using 1-2 punch here or any weaken effects. I don't even really feel like I need it. And then boom, that phase is over and we just keep moving. I didn't listen to the Fragments earlier, but Facet of Dominance will make your Transcendence Grenade weaken, which can be really helpful. But it's a little bit situational, and it's if you can really get the Transcendence spam up high, maybe it's worth it, but otherwise, I don't know. Wiping out these enemies. Always want to get darkness effects on big enemies so you can do more damage to them. Just kiting this Tormentor a little bit and healing up. I did end up messing with the modifiers on this and put the haste modifier, which I usually don't like, but Lightning Surge is such a mobile build that it really didn't hurt me, and a lot of times it might have even helped me because I was moving so much. Here we're just working on this Tormentor, but also watching out for this dang grab attacks. Boom. And that's that phase over. Just generally throw out the cold snap grenades whenever you can because it'll build up that transcendence gauge. You can see here that the transcendence gauge on that side is just a little bit lower. I've been using a darkness primary weapon just to build that up quickly. That's been working pretty well. I just have to remember to actually shoot my guns. Alright, now we're into the final phase of this. We're fighting both bosses and trying to finish them off. Fortunately, just a little bit low on transcendence energy here. Putting up a Finality's Augur turret just so that it can whittle enemies down. Put some Unravel on one of those bosses. Tangles can't help too because they deal darkness damage. You can see this is one of those examples. The ability loop's just kind of broken just slightly. You're really good to have Transcendence right here because cooldowns have just kind of all lined up together and it's broken the inmost light loop. But just a little bit more shooting, we'll have Transcendence, and then we'll be able to nuke everything at once. There we go, Transcendence. We throw the Transcendence grenade out to debuff enemies, and then we Lightning Surge. Got our super back too, so we can just throw that into the enemies. Get knocked back, and then just Lightning Surge. And that's it. As I mentioned, gameplay loop is extremely simple. Use weapons and abilities to build Transcendence, Lightning Surge everything. Now when you're trying to maximum damage stack, what you want to do is ensure there are 3+ enemies nearby, so Syntheseps is active. Ensure your fonts are active by picking up orbs, apply a darkness debuff via weapons, Arcane Needle, Cold Snap, or Transcendence Grenade, and shoot with 1-2 punch shotgun, Lightning Surge, and nuke. I found that very few enemies could withstand 1 or 2 of these. Mostly bosses would go straight to a phase if you line up everything at once. And you don't always need this, so definitely feel free to just do a normal Lightning Surge sometimes, because sometimes it takes like 2 of those and you have almost infinite ones in Transcendence. But that's pretty much it. As we wrap up, I just want to thank all my supporters, my channel members, Velvet Hammer, who is a new channel member, Louie, Equitas, Mirage, Sushi Juice, Maddie the Ace, Davey0011, Infernal Park 111, and Eradriel. I really appreciate all of you and everyone who supports the channel. I am so close to 5,000 subscribers, which I didn't even think would ever be possible, and it is really cool. I plan to make a lot of build videos. It might take me just a little bit longer right now because I'm also trying to play the content and enjoy it, but I will have plenty of build videos out. Also, pay attention to the posts on the channel too. Sometimes I will just post information as I'm doing testing. You can also join my Discord. I have an entire channel just for science testing, where I'm testing different things and trying to figure out how they work, and trying to figure out how all the new stats work and how everything's going, and it's a lot. But with all that said, I really appreciate all the support, and thank you for watching. Hope you have a lot of fun with Edge of Fate, and I will see you in the next one.